When I would do my elevator pitch, I would say, "Hi there, my name is Teresa, and I'm the founder of the Women's Real Estate Investors Network, and I would love to teach you how to invest in real estate." Girl, there was not even a Women's Real Estate Investors Network.
Welcome to Insights with Marcia. We are so excited you're here today because you're going to learn a lot. And if you don't mind, give us a like and subscribe to our channel. We'd love to be seeing more of you. And today's guest is a very special lady. If you really want to know anything about real estate, she's going to be the person to talk to. She has worked with over 250,000 people and changed their life through real estate investing. She started an organization called Women's Real Estate Investors Network. I knew it was on the tip of my tongue. I tell you what, this is Teresa Todd. And Teresa, you explain more of it.
Well, I will. First of all, Marcia, just thanks for having me. I'm so excited. This is a beautiful studio.
Thank you. We're so thrilled to have you.
Yeah. So I was in the medical field for 25 years. Never saw myself doing anything different. But my sons became real estate investors here in Dallas. I was in Tyler, Texas, and they just had wild success. And they kept saying, "Mom, come do this with us. Come do this." So it took several years for them to talk me into it. I took a leap of faith at 50 years old.
Oh, yeah.
I was not thinking about changing careers at 50 years old. But I'm so grateful. I left everything behind. I gave my 2 weeks notice. I sold my home. I left everything behind and moved to Dallas to learn how to invest in real estate.
Wow.
And it literally just changed my life. I had no idea that an average girl like myself, I thought you had to have a huge stash of money. You had to, but they began to teach me how to invest using other people's money. And once I started having success, I wanted every woman to know that this was possible.
Yes.
So within not a very long time, I started the Women's Real Estate Investors Network. And now we've grown nationwide, the largest women's real estate investors network in the nation. And it has been the most fun journey.
Isn't that cool? You got to have fun along the way.
That's right.
Wow. And to me, that was just like destiny. Destiny found you. But I hear what you're saying, and I'm sure there's so many people listening that are like, I'm going to sell my house and give up everything. I don't know if I ever could. I think, I had to be given huge shoves, it was not anything I did big like that wasn't necessarily on my own. It was kind of getting shoved into it. So
yeah,
that's amazing. Now you have 2 sons here.
I have 3.
I was thinking it was 3. Wow.
I have 3 sons. I'm in business with 2 of them. They're all in real estate, but my oldest son has 6 kids. So
wow.
I have 11 grandkids altogether. I know.
Yes.
My youngest one turns 1 this week. So I'm super excited about that.
Yeah.
But and so grateful that my sons talked me into walking away from everything I knew and starting all over.
Yes. So I read your book y'all got to get. Why don't you tell them about the book? Because it's not just about you. You got the book to start it.
Absolutely. I just was one of the authors in this book. She nailed it. Danette Galvis is the one who headed this up. And I believe there's 12 authors in this book. It just kind of tells my story about how I left. I had to be pushed as well.
Okay.
I didn't jump out on my own. I will assure you of that. But she nailed it.
Yeah, y'all need to read it.
It's all about amazing women that have done great things. And I was honored to be in there.
And what's also amazing to me is you have not been doing this that long.
No.
I was telling you about my business, but when I sold it, I'd been doing it for 19 years.
Yeah.
I think you're still young in this to be the biggest network in the country. So what was your timeline like?
Oh, well, I started myself when I was 50 and almost 51 and just started learning, and my sons were teaching me. And as I was doing it, I was going to networking events with them. And it was, if there were 100 men in the room, there might be 6 or 7 women.
Really?
And I was like, where are all the women? And my background is not only in the medical field, but I have had always also been in ministry, teaching Bible studies and women's retreats and those kinds of things. So I've always loved just women and empowering women. So once I started doing this and, like I said, going to networking events, I was like, we need women. Women need to know they can do this. And so again, it was my sons who said, Mom, start something for women.
Hello.
And I was like, oh, and I said, oh, I might do that someday. And my sons were just like, Mom, what are you waiting on? I was like, I need more experience. And they're like, we will help you. And I said, well, if you promise that you will help me, you'll teach these women every single thing you've taught me, I'll do it. So I did it with 14 months experience.
Wow.
I don't know what I was thinking. I was crazy.
Wow, that's awesome.
And I just started, this is so funny, I just started going to some networking events. And, they would give you a little 30-second, they call it the elevator pitch.
Yes.
And I would stand up and I would do my elevator pitch. And I would say, hi there, my name is Teresa and I'm the founder of the Women's Real Estate Investors Network. And I would love to teach you how to invest in real estate. Girl, there was not even a Women's Real Estate Investors Network. I said, our first meeting is on August the 28th at 6 p.m. And I did not know if women would show up. I didn't know if women even wanted to learn how to invest in real estate. But that very first week, 40 women exactly walked through the door.
That's amazing.
And that was the beginning. And we were having live in-person meetings. And I was I was scared to death that nobody would show up. And then I was scared to death that they would. And they're going to ask me questions and I don't know the answers. But we just started. And it was absolutely amazing. And then in 2020, of course, the world shut down.
Yes.
And by this time, we were having pretty large events where there would be about maybe 100, 150 women showing up. We were hosting those at hotels.
Yes.
And then, of course, everything shut down. And I knew that women needed it more now.
Yeah.
In 2020 than ever. I was like, I have an answer.
Yes.
That can help women in this whole, because people were losing their jobs and losing their retirements and all the things. And so we started going online in April of 2020. I hosted my first online training and exactly 699 ladies showed up for that first online training. And we've been going strong. And like you said at the beginning, now we've had over 250,000 women come through our training. And, we just never ever dreamed that this would happen in a million years. I'm so grateful and God is so good. And it has been just so much fun.
That is so cool. And I think what is so neat is what we want other women out there to realize is that could be them.
Absolutely.
And if they think it couldn't be them, they're wrong.
You have no idea.
Yeah.
What is on the other side of your yes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. So true. It's that leap of faith. Are you familiar with the Enneagram?
Yes, I am.
Do you know what number you are?
I think I'm a 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I bet you are.
Okay.
Yeah.
The achiever.
Yeah, the achiever.
Yeah.
The achiever.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a 6.
Okay.
And we're very motivated by fear.
Oh.
And I have heard in Enneagram talks before that half the world could be 6s and 9s, the fearful ones and the ones that don't like conflict. So I see what you're doing as being one of those people that dare not, cross the chicken line and just step out into faith. As that is so important because not everybody is ready.
Well, I will tell you if I can share a little story.
Please.
I mean, like I said, my sons had tried to talk me into this leap of faith for 3 years. But what really did it is I was teaching a Bible study at my church, and it was a 12-week Bible study on the book of Joshua. And Joshua had already been my favorite character. I've just always been so intrigued. But this particular, I'd never taught it for 12 weeks straight. And as I dove into it, I mean, it just came alive to me.
Yeah.
And Joshua was going to take the children of Israel into the promised land. And as it came alive to me, especially Joshua 1:9, where Moses is telling Joshua this, and then God himself tells Joshua, have I not commanded you to be strong and courageous? Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. And that just started, I felt like God was saying to me, Teresa, have I not commanded you to be strong and courageous? Well, I still had no idea that I was about to do what I was doing. I just thought, I remember making this pledge to God.
Yeah.
I was 50 at that time, and I said, I'm going to live the rest of my life being strong and courageous. Whatever, if I have a decision to make, whatever the most courageous thing to do, that's the thing that I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And I remember making like two things. I remember a hard conversation that I'd been putting off for a long time. And then I wrote an email that I needed to write. And I thought God was so proud of my courage. I was, being courageous. Had no idea that within just a few weeks after that, my youngest son, who they had all been trying to talk me into leaving, but he called me one evening. It was about 7 p.m. or 9 p.m. at night. And he said, Mom, can you talk? And I said, yeah. And he said, it's time. He said, I really want you to quit your job, and I want you to come to Dallas and let us teach you how to invest in real estate.
Wow.
And he had looked over my finances a few months prior. He had been to the house, and he hadn't really said much about it. But he said, Mom, you're never going to be really able to retire. He looked at all the money, and he's like, you're going to be working until you're 90.
No, thank you.
I know. And then I remember having the conversation and sitting after we hung up, sitting on the side of the bed. And I was like, God, is this what you meant?
Whoa.
Is this what you meant? When I said I was going to be courageous, do I really walk away from everything?
Huge.
But I knew my answer. I'd already told God I was going to do the most courageous thing. So I went back to work and I gave my notice. And I put my house up for sale and I moved to Dallas, and I've never looked back. That was the beginning and that same scripture is what carried me through. That's the same scripture that made me start the Women's Real Estate Investors Network.
Yeah.
And so now that's my life verse.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. And mine is Jeremiah 29:11.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love
Plans and
that.
purposes for your
Yes.
life. And I think women and men just need to realize that God has a plan.
Yes, he does.
You don't open the book and your name's up there and it's a blank page.
That's
It's
right.
not happening.
Yes.
He's got a plan.
We all have an assignment on our life. And we have to choose to find out what that assignment is and to walk in. And sometimes you don't know. I had no idea this was my assignment.
Yeah.
And until I said yes, and then, out of my own need of wanting to have other women, God created what he did. And it's all a faith-based business as well. So
that's nice.
I'm sharing Jesus and real estate investing with all of these women. And it's just been so fun.
And I like to tell people in general, when I was building my business, it's like I just walked through every open door and I kind of looked around.
Yes.
Am I supposed to be here?
Yes.
Or not? But if there was an open door, if somebody said, come, will you speak here? Come, will you go do this? I just walked through all of them. And you have a great story about 57 doors.
Oh, yes. Yes.
You mind telling it?
No, not at all. So when I first started investing in real estate, there's lots of ways to find really good deals. But one of the ways that I knew was knocking on doors of people that were facing foreclosure. And for some reason, I don't know why that's the one that I chose, because that's probably the most difficult thing.
Yeah.
But I knew that I could just go do that. I didn't need to understand technology. I didn't need to, I was like, okay, I can go do that. So I got a list of people that were facing foreclosures, and I did exactly what my sons told me to do. And I would go and knock on their door and talk to them. And because we buy houses that are off market, with distressed and motivated sellers who are in a bad situation, and we create a win-win for them. Well, I knocked on 57 doors before I got my first deal.
That is a lot. I don't know if I could have stuck out that many doors.
My
goodness.
That
is amazing.
I mean, I can remember hitting 27 doors and thinking, what have I done? I thought, well, my sons are natural at this. They obviously didn't get it from me. I'm not good at this. And then 37 doors and still nothing. And I just remember thinking, I've made the biggest mistake of my life. I need to go beg my doctor. I need my job back. I just need to go back to my life. And, but I'd left. My house was already, I'd already done up here. And so I just kept going. And then I knocked on 47 doors and still nothing. And I remember just feeling so defeated, embarrassed, humiliated, and just, embarrassed to look my sons in the face. And I kept going. And on my 57th door, I got my first deal. And 8 days later, I made $20,000 off of that deal.
8 days
8 days
later.
later. And then I understood, oh my goodness, this is a numbers game. I will go knock on 57 more doors if it's going to make me $20,000.
Yes.
And then I also learned it didn't take 57 doors because now I'm learning what to say and what not to say. And I'm getting better at this. And anyway,
Yes.
that was the beginning.
Yes, like I was listening to one of your podcasts and it was talking about when people could be in a vulnerable situation like that. Like you don't want to come in necessarily dressed to the nines.
Yeah.
You want to be a listener and empathetic with them and that kind of stuff. Just
because they're usually in a crisis situation. Either they're losing their home to a foreclosure or they've lost a loved one that maybe they inherited a home and they can't really afford to make the payments on it and do the upkeep and pay the taxes, or going through a divorce. And so many of the people that we work with are going through a crisis. And the last thing that we need to do is take advantage of somebody in that situation.
Right.
You want to obviously get a deal for you that you can make money on, but you also want to be a blessing to them. And so what we are always teaching is create win-wins. Make sure that it's a win for them and a win for you. And I think women especially are so good at that, and that's already their heart. And so even my sons will say women make the best real estate investors.
That's really neat to hear. I like that though, because we are win-win. Yes. Yeah. And that's the way it should be. That's what's going to get blessed and bring forth more prosperity.
Absolutely.
Well, tell people about your podcast.
Yeah. Well, it's called Without Fear of Her Future. And that's what I want you to live is, that's a scripture from Proverbs 31 is that he wants us to laugh without fear of our future.
Yeah.
And, I think so many women these days are scared of their future. How am I going to retire and what am I going to do? And we look at the world today, but real estate investing is just one of those things. People are always going to need homes.
Yes.
And so our Without Fear of Our Future teaches about real estate investing, but it's also a lot about mindset because I had been an employee for 25 years. I had what I call an employee mindset, which is not a bad thing.
No.
But when you're an entrepreneur, there's a whole different other mindset that has to come along with that.
Yes.
And so I had a lot to learn. And so we do that. And then obviously it's also very faith-based. So we're sharing faith. So check us out at Without Fear of Her Future.
Yes. And I love that title. It's fabulous, Without Fear, because who doesn't have fear? And I think if people will just put their trust, I've never heard God not take care of somebody when they wanted to know, what is my future? What am I supposed to do?
That is so true.
He will lead you to it, and I call them little flashbacks. Every now and then I'll have a flashback to when I was younger and an event I had, and I thought, that was a seed he was planting way back then.
Oh, so good. Yeah.
And I think if most people will just come to him and talk to him, just be still. We're actually going to have a Dr. Martin Verkler on in a few weeks, and he's got 40, 50 years ago, he wrote a book called 4 Keys to Hearing God's Voice.
Ooh.
And it is powerful.
Okay.
So it's just mainly guys learning to be still and quiet yourself and just write down the impressions on your mind, what you're hearing and more. As you know, as God speaks in so many ways, there you are studying Jeremiah and it's just like, bam.
Yeah.
I see it right there.
Yes.
So, we talk a lot about finding your purpose and passion and then seasons of life. Yeah. And then you were just in a different season then, and now you're in this season.
Yes.
And it's so cool because you have found your purpose, you found your passion. And I think what's really neat is I love what you said a second ago about I stood up in that meeting and said 6:00 on such and such a day. I remember having a list of affirmations, of I will have, my company will be this, it will be that, it will be this. You have to speak it.
Yes.
You have to say
it. I remember then, we didn't have a logo. We didn't have anything. I just literally was sitting up the phone and then was like, okay, I guess I should get an LLC and I guess I should get a logo. I called one of my best friends in Tyler and I'm like, can you make me she literally created me a logo and sent it to me like the next day.
That's awesome.
Now we've rebranded several times since then, but you just have to start ugly. You just have to start and then let God develop it as you go.
That's a good way to say it. Let him develop it as you go. Just take it's what I'm doing every day now. Okay, I'm just taking a step, and seeing where he goes with it and all. So if somebody wanted to take your course, like I'm sure there's some women right now going, that sounds kind of interesting. tell them how it works, like how do they go sign up, what kind of stuff they'll learn. For those that have a fear of even starting, just tell them enough about it so that they'll
I
go
would
do it.
love to tell them. So it is also called Without Fear of Her Future. So you can go to, and that's also my book is called Without Fear of Her Future. But it's withoutfearofherfuture.com. And we do, it's a 5-day training. It costs you $17.
Okay.
And it's 5 nights and it's about 2 hours a night. And we just start. So you have, you don't need any experience. You do not need a license. You don't have to be a realtor. You don't need a big pile of money to get started as an investor. If you've got a few $100s a month that you can invest into your life and all of that, that's what it takes. And we just start at the beginning. We teach how to wholesale properties, how to flip properties. Obviously, we don't flip them. We hire contractors to do that.
Yeah.
But we teach you how to find the right properties, to know exactly how much to offer on those properties. We teach and how to use other people's money to actually purchase the house and rehab the property. We also teach about buying rentals and short-term rentals and mid-term rentals and long-term rentals. And then lastly is lending. That's mostly what I do now is I love to lend to other investors so that they can flip houses. And I make, like a 18% ROI on my money. So it's the easiest money I could ever make and I don't have to do anything.
That's a darn good ROI.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I got a couple of questions I wrote down the other day. What do you think is the biggest misconception people have about real estate investing?
Oh, I think without a doubt, the biggest misconception is that you have to have a lot of money. That's what I thought, and that's what everybody thinks. Well, you've got to already be wealthy how do you buy these houses?
Right.
Well, how does an average girl, I was making $65,000 a year in the medical field. How do you go from that to being a real estate investor?
Right.
And we teach all of that, how you use other people's money and how to build capital. I started building, I told you I made $20,000 on that without using zero of my own money. And I made $20,000. So I was able to do that and build up capital really, really quickly.
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest misconception.
Okay, that's a good one. What would you tell a woman listening who feels completely overwhelmed?
Oh, that you could do anything. You can do all things through Christ who strengthens you. I do not believe that God designed any of us to live anxious and fearful about the future and worried. God's got a plan for you. He wants to use you. He has an assignment on your life, but it will require faith.
Yes.
We can't just sit in our house and pray that God blesses us, but then not be willing to do something. When He gives you an opportunity, we have to take it. When my son gave me that invitation, I would not be sitting here today if I had let my fear lead me. I think, I can't do this. I don't have money. Who do I think I am to start over at 50 years old?
Yeah.
But I had to lean into it. I knew that God had spoken. Have I not commanded you to be strong and courageous? And I believe that God's commanding everybody to be strong and courageous. He wants us to trust Him.
Yes.
And when we trust Him, man, we open up doors that we have never dreamed.
And I feel like every time you take an extra step, you get a little more confidence. You go,
that's right.
I did that. And another step. And I did that.
Yes.
And it's like, just start walking.
Absolutely.
Just start, like you said, knocking on the doors. After number 57, then but every time you do it, it's like whenever you were a kid and you had to stand up to the bully, after you did it once, you're like, oh, that worked. I think I'll do it again.
That's right. That's right. That's how you grow your confidence, is just taking those little steps.
Yeah. What types of investing do you personally like the best?
Oh, it's a great question. Short-term rentals is one of my favorite. I call that now and later money because you could make now money. I call that like pocket money I can spend. But it also is building long-term generational wealth.
So that means you bought something and you're renting it.
And I'm keeping it. My tenant is literally paying the mortgage on it every month as they pay me the rent. But it's also something that I can pass down to my kids and grandkids. And so it's legacy money. So that's one of my favorite. And then the other is lending, being a private money lender. And it's such a simple process. I can lend that money out. They're usually short-term loans for 6 months, and then I'm making 18% on my money, and then I just turn around and do it again. And wow, I can do that.
That's
forever.
very,
And
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good one. I like that one a lot. Okay, I'm gonna ask you your best deal and your worst deal.
Oh, let's go with the worst deal first.
Okay.
The worst deal. I always tell my story about making $20,000 on the first deal, but the second deal, I actually only made $2,500. But I almost made zero. I'm still learning. This is my second deal, right? I've only done one.
Oh, that's
And then,
right.
and so now it's my second deal. And I was so proud. I'd walked through it. I also had knocked on this gentleman's door and he was facing foreclosure. And I was trying to do everything that my sons had taught me. And I'd walked through the house and estimated the repairs and all of the things. We sat down. I have a formula. I made the offer. And then when we were done, and I was about to leave, I realized that I had not walked in his backyard.
Oh, no.
And I was like, oh, by the way, could I see out the back door? And he opens the door. And I'm telling you, the yard was it was 10 feet from the door was the major highway where cars are going 65 miles an hour. And I was like, oh my God.
Had you already signed
I'd
the
already
deal?
signed the deal and everything. Now, I could have gotten out of it. Of course, now I'm like, oh, I need to go tell my sons what I've done. They are going to, kill me. And so I did. I was like, okay, I was excited. I said, well, I got another deal and I have it under contract. And I tell them all the good. And I said, but. And so, they laughed and they're like, yeah, because that was going to be very hard to sell.
Yes,
Yeah. But I was able to wholesale it. My sons helped me, and I was able to wholesale it, and I made $2,500. It wouldn't have been the end of the world. I could have always terminated that contract really easily, and it wouldn't have cost me anything. But I laugh about it, and it was a great lesson. I've never forgotten again to look out the back door.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was
That's a hoot.
one of but that's how you learn.
That's exactly how you learn.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay. Well, what was one of your best?
It's so crazy because you would say, would I go on maybe a story of how you've helped somebody in a bad situation?
Yes.
Divorced mom of two. We were, able to purchase her house and put, thousands of dollars in her hand. We bought it as is. There's no way that house was going to sell on the market, and she was not in the mindset to even be able to deal with all that. We could just buy it as is, and she walked away to go get a fresh start,
That was good.
But I'll never forget, so many of these stories of how grateful they are, because they just thought they were going to lose the house.
Yes.
But we were able to put money in their pocket, and then I, made $50,000 or $60,000 on the deal myself, and so that's what it's all about, is creating win-wins for everyone.
So a house like that, you go in and you
that one we
put
flipped.
lipstick on and make it look good and flip it.
Yeah, it
But
had
she
a
wouldn't have
lot.
been able to do that.
Oh. And there's no way I would have just sold on the market like that. So she just was going to have to walk away. And so
when you said it wouldn't have sold on the market like that, have you found that since HGTV came out, everybody is expecting a whole lot more of a house?
I agree. Yes. Yeah.
It's like they want it to look good.
And it can.
Yeah, and it can. I like that. Like a true entrepreneur. Yes. Okay, so one habit that changed your life.
Oh my goodness, that's a great question. I'll tell you one of the things that my youngest son said to me I've started living by is, whenever he kept saying, why don't you start something for women? And I would say, I will someday. This is what he said to me. He said, Mom, just choose a day and put it on the calendar and say, on this day, I'm going to start. And that's exactly what I did. And that's why I can remember the date. It was August the 28th.
Wow.
At 6 p.m. And that's the day which was about 3 months from the date that I put it on the calendar. And I don't know why I thought I was going to be ready in 3 months from then. But that is how I have chosen now. Whenever I'm afraid to do something, I think, okay, put a date on the calendar And this is the day you're going to do it. And then
like
don't
that.
let anything stop you. That's your day. You don't make excuses. And so I've done that in so many areas of my life.
I like that. That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a good one because
Yeah.
I'll put on my back burner, oh, I need to make that doctor's appointment or the dentist appointment. And I'll go, if you just call them and get it on the calendar, you'll get it done.
Absolutely.
But I like this in bigger ways like that.
Yeah.
That's very cool. I like that. Okay. Your favorite book? You can't say the Bible. So.
Oh, wow. I always think my favorite book is the one that I'm reading at the present time.
There
You know what I mean?
That's good.
You know what? I'm going to say a book by Mark Batterson. And if I can remember the name of it, In a Pit with a Lion on a Snowy Day. Have you
that
ever
sounds
read that?
cool.
Yeah, I may not
No.
have that title exactly right, but all those words are in the title.
We can
In
Google
a
it.
Pit with the Lion on a Snowy Day. It is all about chasing dreams and just standing up to the giants that we're facing. And it's a little story that's actually in the Bible that you never hear anybody preaching on it. And he's written this entire book on it, and it will stir your faith, and you will believe that you could do anything. So,
I've got to go look at it.
Yeah.
In a Pit with a Lion on a Snowy Day.
Yes.
I've got to find that. Because one of my favorite things is I read a book by Dale Mass, and he talked about how our Goliaths reveal our Davids. And with me, it was a real change because all the harsh things that had happened in life or something negative, I went, you know what? That wasn't bad. That was my Goliath.
Oh,
Look how I had to rise above because of that thing that seemed like a horrible thing that happened in my life.
So
that
good.
was Goliath. And we don't realize how many Goliaths, and we rise above.
That's right. That's how we get strong. That's where our faith and our confidence comes.
Yeah.
And we've seen God do it before. We know He'll do it again.
Yeah. So I got to find that one because it sounds like a good parallel.
Yeah,
and I know
that's
it's
great.
like that.
Yeah.
Okay. One thing you would tell one thing every woman should know about money.
Oh, you know, I'm a big believer in getting out of debt. That's not fun. Nobody wants to hear that.
Yeah.
But I am a believer, get out of debt and don't live above your means. You know, just that is one of the, if you want to be stress-free, live under your means.
Yes.
And not stretching everything and not being constantly worried about the bills. Now, you know, obviously you have to make some money. And obviously, I think real estate investing can do that for you, where you can make a great amount of money. But I also just teach my women too, is get out of debt, and we're a slave.
Yeah.
We're a slave. And that is, Americans, we are just,
And we're actually losing more money than if we had just gotten out of debt and started living again because we're paying all the interest
absolutely.
and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I remember when at the point in my life when I got to that point, like I'm paying off the credit card every month, I'm paying cash for this and cash for that.
Yeah.
And suddenly it was a used car, not a new car, but it is very freeing.
It is so freeing.
And, then God would just start to bless me in ways I couldn't even believe.
Yes, absolutely.
I remember dropping my daughter off at Mother's Day out, and everybody didn't have a phone. And I had stopped by the Burger King to get something, and I was in the drive-through line, and a new radio station had opened up, and they weren't great cars, but they had like 8 Dodge Omnis, and they were going to give away all 8 of them, and they would tell you 4 numbers, and if they were the last 4 numbers of your driver's license, you won.
Oh.
And I'm in the line looking at it, and I have to go to a public library to find a phone because you only had 20 minutes to call. But anyhow,
You were one of the
I was the one.
Oh, my
But
goodness.
it was a time when in our lives when we didn't have a lot of money. We had,
Isn't God good?
And He's good. I just
he's
asked the
so
car in
good.
for the
He's
money.
so faithful.
He's
so
He's
faithful.
so faithful.
Oh, I love those stories.
Yeah,
Can I share one more?
Oh,
If we're
love
talking
stories.
about money.
Please,
We're talking
yes.
about money. I feel like something I never saw whenever I just was working in the medical field, but it's a scripture in Deuteronomy 8:18. And it says, it is God who gives us the ability to create wealth.
Yes.
He gives us an ability. It doesn't say He gives us wealth, but He gives us the ability to create it. And I believe that that's what God gave to me whenever my sons taught me how to invest in real estate.
Yes.
I believe that's what God is using me to bless women. I'm giving them this ability to create wealth. And He says, so that I can establish my covenant. He's got a covenant with us that he wants to bless us. I believe that he wants us to walk in abundance. The Bible talks so much about giving.
Yes.
Well, how do you give if you're broke?
Right.
And and I believe we're blessed to be a blessing.
Yes.
And, and I always say this so humbly, but I can write checks to a nonprofit that are bigger than what my annual salary was in the medical field.
And that
is, God is so good.
Yes, so
I just never would have dreamed that for my little life.
Yes.
That God could do that. And and I'm nothing special. He will do that for anyone who is willing to just step out and trust him.
I totally agree. To me, it's like if one thing I learned along the way when trying to figure out what's your purpose, what's your passion, is the things you actually kind of want and crave in life. God put that wanting there.
That's right.
So somebody that's wanting to create generational wealth like you're teaching and they feel that desire in their heart, it's not just their desire. It's God put that desire
Absolutely.
there. And if he put that desire there, he will make a way where there seems to be no way.
Oh, yes.
And my other favorite verse is John 10:10. That he has given to us abundantly above all that we could ask or think.
Yes.
And I'm with you. He will do it. He'll give us abundance. Oh, so there's so many people that will say, because I know a few people who'll give me like, God doesn't believe in prosperity gospel. I'm like, but God wants us to prosper.
Yes.
And the thing that sticks in my mind is Solomon in his dream talking to God. And God's like, what do you want? And he goes, I want wisdom. And he says, because you ask for wisdom, I'm going to make you the richest man on earth. So wealth, it must not be evil, or God wouldn't have given that.
Almost everybody in like Joshua and David and Solomon, they were Abraham, they were all very wealthy.
Yes.
Now, that doesn't mean that we won't go through times of testing and times when you need somebody you need to win a car. I mean, I certainly did that as a single mom, but way before I have gone through that. And I think those are times of testing.
Yes.
Are we still going to be faithful to God? Are we still going to honor him during those times? But I believe ultimately, if God can trust us with wealth, he wants us to walk in that blessing and that prosperity so that we can be a blessing.
Right.
Who gives to the poor?
Right.
If nobody's wealthy.
Exactly. Yes. Yes. Yeah. And you have such a neat way of teaching women how they can do it. I know I grew up during the years and they still do it. We get into a certain cosmetic line or things like there's been several of those. But you are showing them a way to make $20,000 on their first year.
Yeah.
And that is just people
God
are
is
going,
so
wow.
Good. Well, what's so funny about it, and I didn't realize this until years later, because it was the whole Joshua thing that, birthed this whole thing. But now I think back about it, Joshua was taking the children of Israel to the promised land. And now I kind of get to take women into the promised land financially. And so it's like he was speaking it to me all in the beginning, but I had no idea that was the plan.
And it's not only like you're blessed and your family's blessed. Now you get to bless all these other people. It's like a double fold.
Yes.
It's like, so some of these women make it into it and they don't even realize it might not just be for them personally, but what else is going to come out.
Absolutely.
That is just so fun.
It is fun.
It is fun.
It is fun.
Yeah. Let me see if I have another kicker question too. What would you say to women listening right now who feel like they're stuck?
Oh, the only way that you get unstuck is to move. You got to step out in the mud. I mean,
I love it.
Get
dirty.
Yeah. I mean, there is no other way. If your car is stuck in the mud, you got to get out and push it, or you got to, do something
there.
Yeah. And so, or your wheels are just spinning.
Yeah.
Your wheels are just spinning and you just stay stuck. Yeah. And so just open the door. Yeah. Sometimes, and just step out and walk away from, and that is, I was stuck. I was stuck in a job for 25 years that I enjoyed.
Yeah.
It's all I knew. Yeah. And I didn't know that there was another way. Mm-hmm. But when somebody gives you an opportunity and you are hearing about it, I think of that story where, the person was, the flood and he's on the roof and he's like, save me. And, first of all, a boat comes by and he goes, no, God's going to save me. And then a helicopter comes. And he's like, no, and then he's in heaven. He goes, why didn't you save me? He goes, I sent a boat. I sent a helicopter. And I think that God sends somebody. And we so many times we're really too afraid to take any, we really want God to do it all.
Yeah.
We just want to open our door and there be
Riches poured out.
riches poured out. And, that's not the way that it works. So
what advice let's both double think on this. What's the advice? I think some of the advice is start writing down a few positive statements like, I will get into real estate investment. I will become very prosperous. I will
declaring the word of God.
Yeah, I was going to say, find scriptures.
Yes.
Like John 10:10, he has come that we might have life and that we might have it more abundantly. That was one of mine all through my life. Declare the scriptures, because when you're declaring it, we had Charity Verkler on here, and she was talking about, she's got her doctorate, and as a Christian, that quantum physics, and that when we're saying it, that we're helping to collapse everything into our reality.
Oh,
so yeah,
I love it. Well, God spoke the whole earth into being.
Thank you.
We have power in our words.
Yes.
And in Job, it talks about declare and decree a thing. Well, you know what? I was declaring and decreeing that I was the founder of the Women's Real Estate Investors Network before there ever was one. So whatever it is that your heart longs for, begin to declare it, begin to decree it. But then you also have to put some work behind it. Do something. Show up. Say yes. Go through every open door.
Yeah. And I think the more movement you take, it's always like a snowball.
Yes.
The more you will have.
Yes.
Well, I thought of one other question I like to ask. If you could give your younger self some advice, what would it be?
Oh, it would have been to do something sooner. Yeah. I now look back at all the opportunities that God tried to give me. It was so funny. I've always walked with the Lord since I was a young girl. And I would pray kind of outlandish prayers. I would believe God for these big things. And when I look back, I realize that God was trying to answer that. There were other opportunities that would come my way, but I would always say, no, that's not me. I wanted to stay safe.
You weren't walking through the open doors.
I wasn't walking through the open doors. And now when I look back, I'm like, wow, that was 15 years before. And God gave me one of them was a great idea that I never would go on. And then the other one was an opportunity that some of my friends were doing a thing. And I just was like, oh no, I can't do that. And so God, but yeah, if I was going to tell myself, a younger self, or something, is quit living in that fear and playing it safe. I thought I was being responsible,
Yes. Yeah.
And the thing I also want to say is, when we're talking about real estate, is you don't have to quit your job. You could do this as a side hustle. My sons didn't give me that choice. But now we have an entire training that's all online, and all of my students can keep their jobs while they do this on the side until they make enough money to quit. But yeah.
So could they go take the class at any time? Do you start a class once a month?
Yeah, we have a class. And withoutfearofherfuture.com.
I love it.
Or you can check us out at Women's REIN. That is Women's Real Estate Investors Network, but Women's REIN is so we call ourselves. We're the REIN.
Yeah. I like that.
Yeah,
I like it, and definitely it's working.
Yeah.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to encourage you guys get to take the class too.
Well, it's mostly women.
Okay,
but a lot of husbands are watching it with their wives.
I can see that kind of looking over the shoulder.
That's right. Mm-hmm. That's right. And it's so funny that sometimes I will hear a woman, two women tell me not too long ago, it was their husband who actually saw something about it. They're like, hey, you need to do this.
I love it. You need to do this.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, then he's going to be supportive.
That's right.
True.
That's right.
Well, thank y'all for being here for this one of Insights with Marcia. Like us, subscribe, and now we'd love to hear your comments about the show. And it's Teresa Todd, Women's Real Estate Investing Network, and withoutfearofherfuture.com. Yeah. Go check it out. It's some powerful stuff. We'll see y'all next time.